Welcome, friends, to another edition of Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace. We are retired New York City police detectives and 9/11 World Trade Center first responders. If you like all things true crime related from the police detective's perspective, hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell, so you'll get all things DutyRon and where is he? Ed Wallace over here when we go live or upload another video. Hey, tonight we're going to get into Rex Heuermann, Long Island serial killer, and will the Suffolk County Police Commissioner, Rodney Harrison, be removed from his case come January 1st of 2024 with the new Suffolk County executive? But before we get into that, Ed, we know what we got to do here. We got to say thank you to the Patreon supporters, the channel members, the moderators, the subscribers, and the folks who watch our replays. We love and appreciate you guys. So thank you so much. It's been a long, well, I think it's been 7 days before since we've gone live, Ed. So
are you going through withdrawal?
I'm on that the 2-step or 12-step program. I don't know what program you want me to be on, but I'm good. My hands are, they're not hitting that go live button. Just trying to recover and rest.
Are you in that group? Are you in that group, Friends of YouTube?
Ed, how's Barbara how's Margaret doing? Yeah, Barbara. Do you have a girlfriend? How is Margaret doing? I know Janine's resting up and recovered fully. Is Margaret all good? Are we good to go?
Oh, she's yelling at me again, so that should tell you everything you need to know. She's back. Just when you thought it was safe to be in the Wallace household.
She's back and better than ever. I got to tell you guys, Ed and I in the studio before we came live here, we were having a lot of fun. A lot of times we stick to all business, but we were having some good laughs. And Ed was quoting some movies, and we were having a good time. I like to do that with Ed, and it's always good to get that that good old therapeutic laugh out and release. So it's all good.
And folks, we're sober.
Picture that. Could you imagine? Ed, I want to go right away into this thing. Let's dive right into it. Rodney Harrison, former NYPD, chief of detectives, an executive in the NYPD, very successful, comes in January of 2022 into the Suffolk County Police Department. Steve Ballone, who is the county executive, but his term limits are up for him come January. So there will be a new Suffolk County executive. He appointed Rodney Harrison. Rodney brought in, his retired lieutenant to be his driver and executive assistant. We know the police commissioner's position is an appointed civilian position. He's not a uniformed member of the service. We're hearing people, Ed, you and I were talking about this before we went live. We're hearing people on the news, the talking heads, and some retired members of the service talking about, hey, he's not in uniform when he met with John Ray. Yeah. The police commissioner doesn't wear a uniform, right, Ed?
That's correct. They're watching too many episodes of Blue Bloods. This isn't Tom Selleck here. Police commissioners are civilians. They don't wear uniforms. Right.
So it's an appointment. Unlike the sheriff in Suffolk County, Mr. Toulon, that's an elected position, just like the district attorney, Ray Tierney. He just recently was elected in 2022. So these are positions that are elected, voted in by the residents of Suffolk County. But as we know, in New York City, the mayor appoints his police commissioner. And if the mayor is now out and a new mayor comes in, and the county executive, for those of you who are watching, is the equivalent of New York City mayor. It's the mayor of Nassau, mayor of Suffolk. And if you see the Nassau County Police Commissioner, Commissioner Ryder, he's never in uniform either, because that is a civilian position. And again, if there's a new county executive here in Nassau County, Ryder may be out or they may opt to keep him. So there is a chance that the new Suffolk County executive will keep Rodney Harrison. But in an interview he did yesterday, he said he's leaving it up to his family. Ed, any thoughts on that? Because I know you watched that interview.
Well, if he said he was leaving it up to his family, that leads me to believe that the incoming county official asked him to stay on. Right. Why else would he say, I'm leaving it up to my family? because, as you said, you serve as the police commissioner at the will of the mayor or at the will of the county executive in the case of Suffolk and Nassau County.
Yeah, it made me believe that he was keeping the door open to decline or accept, and he didn't budge in that interview that he engaged with a retired NYPD sergeant, Joe Jackalone. It was a great 45-minute interview. If you guys haven't seen it, go over there and check it out on his YouTube channel. But I took some notes from it. And again, the police commissioner is a complete gentleman. And I feel strongly that Commissioner Rodney Harrison was instrumental in igniting the fire into this Long Island serial killer Gilgo 4 case. If he had not come on as police commissioner, who knows what would have happened here. He is definitely going at this full tilt, and he's vocal about it. He says in no uncertain terms, if you get in my way, if you feel like I stepped on your toes, then you better get out of the way, because I'm going forward. I like that. I like that he wants to get to the bottom of what's going on, and peeling this onion back is going to really expose, I feel, a lot of different people. We heard about this NYPD detective who allegedly brought Karen Brigada to Rex Heuermann's home. These are all things that John Ray, the attorney for Shannon Gilbert, was just being dismissed for 13 plus years by who? Suffolk County Police and the district attorney squad. Nobody was listening to him. So Ed, I wanted to get you.
I mean, he wasn't being taken seriously. And that's a shame. If he has information, he has to give that information to law enforcement, and law enforcement has to take it seriously and run it down. Okay. We said this in the last show that, no matter what the source of the information is, and, a lot of times people will look at this John and his character and can't get over the character portion of how he acts and how he dresses, to look seriously at the information that he's providing. And that's a shame, because it looks like he's got some legitimate information there that he's got to run down. So I'm sorry, friends. I'm down here in Louisiana, in Baton Rouge, at Louisiana State University, and one of my coworkers here, a good friend of mine named Blaine, he's watching. I got a lot of new subscribers from down here. He's watching, and we were supposed to go out to dinner yesterday, but he had a colonoscopy and he couldn't come. So he posted how well he did on his colonoscopy.
Oh my God!
Thanks, Blaine. Hey, I want to give a shout out to Liam and Brett and Scott and Sarah, all the people that came out to dinner.
Yeah, there's the comment. I just found it. So Blaine Jones said, "Hi Ed, sorry I missed you last night. My colonoscopy went great. My butthole's still on fire." It's a good one.
We gotta call up. I'm sorry. We gotta call up our friend who has all the recipes for.
Oh no!
For hemorrhoids and so forth.
Oh boy! All right, let me reel this back in now, and I'm gonna reel it in. I wanted to play a little piece because there's been some controversy again swirling around this interview, this press conference. It was 7 days ago. It was just a week ago. John Ray and Police Commissioner Rodney Harrison did an interview. They did a press conference in the parking lot of his law firm. And then the Suffolk County District Attorney, Ray Tierney, fired off an email or a press statement from Suffolk County District Attorney's office saying we do not try these cases in the media, and that nobody should be going, no attorney that's representing victims. It's a conflict of interest. I'll read the whole thing, but it was definitely something that made me say, something didn't go right there. And he also claimed that they were finding out about this press conference by watching it. So it was troubling to me, Ed, to see that, because they have to be working together as a team to have this whole wheel of justice moving forward. And the investigation is run by Suffolk County Police Commissioner and his staff and his homicide squad and all of the folks who are in that task force. But the district attorney is charged with charging that case and going forward in a court of law. So, Ed, I wanted you to maybe clear up a little bit. This is how it goes. Investigators and the police gather up the data, gather the science, gather the evidence, present it to the district attorney. They package it up with a nice little bow on it and send it over to the DA, and they say, yes, we'll prosecute, or no. Ed?
Yeah, I mean, I guess they haven't seen the beginning of Law and Order episodes where they talk about the two different parts of the criminal justice system, the police and the prosecutors. The police investigate, prosecutors prosecute. All right. Yes, they have investigative powers in the district attorney's offices. Yes, they have investigators there. Okay. But mainly it's law enforcement who conducts the investigation. And typically, the prosecutors can open up their own cases independent of, in this case, the Suffolk County Police Department. But that's not the way this is going here. There is a task force. And the task force was put in place by the commissioner of the Suffolk County Police Department, not the district attorney, the elected district attorney in Suffolk County. Okay. And then the task force is under control of the police commissioner. Right. The district attorney doesn't have the right to tell the police what to investigate and what not to investigate.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's counterproductive in my eyes. When I looked at that statement and I saw that statement, and it came out the same day that they did this press conference, and I believe it was October 18th. Correct me if I'm wrong, anybody in the chat, but October 18th, they put out this statement from the district attorney's office. And in that statement, the reason I cringed is because this kind of hurts everything of what they're trying to do, is making people feel comfortable coming forward to give information to somebody other than the police department. And Rodney Harrison spoke well yesterday. He said clergy have taken information and confessions or witness statements and brought them to the police with, together. And I feel like the district attorney's statement was, now people were reading that are like, oh, we're back to this again, where the police is like, my way or no, it's my way or the highway, sort of kind of speak. I thought it was counterproductive for him to put that statement out there for that reason, is that people are now going to say, oh, look, this is how it's going. We're right back to square one where we're not comfortable. I have to call the district attorney, who is now fighting publicly with the police commissioner. And people can argue that that's not fighting, but that is not being on the same page. I don't care what anybody says.
The district attorney has to prosecute this case, and they should not have come out with that written statement. Okay. You know what it reminds me of? Back in the day when we were having so much success in the NYPD, and Giuliani was the mayor and Bratton was the commissioner, and there became this little tiff between Bratton and Giuliani became jealous, thinking Bratton was getting all the accolades for reducing crime, which was the case, and he couldn't have that, so he launched Bratton, and it's silly, it's childish. And
Bratton was a great police commissioner.
Absolutely. I loved Bratton as a police commissioner. I would follow that man over and out of a trench any day of the week.
100%. That's the unfortunate part here, is they're saying that we're leaving and we're checking our, checking our egos at the door. And that's not what I see here. So let's play this little piece. Again, this is News Nation. There's two of them. There's one from Asa Ellerup's attorney, Bob Macedonio, and also here, John Ray. And Bob, and for those of you in the chat who are sensitive to people, Bob, the attorney, Bob goes right after John Ray's appearance. So again, I thought it was, it was pretty off-putting for him to do that. He shouldn't have done that. But he did that in previous press conferences where he attacked his professional appearance and the way he carries himself. He called him like a circus clown or something stupid. But we're going to listen to it because it's part of this. It's part of this story. This is John Ray on Banfield.
He brought these witnesses to light. He is the attorney for the family of Shen Gilbert. John, I'm still super curious. All these things are so informative, but why not just tell the task force that's working on the Gilgo Beach serial killings? Why this press conference today, and why was the police commissioner there?
Well, in the same order you've asked the questions, I did tell the task force. All of these affidavits, and there's actually 4 witnesses, not 2, and all 4 of them and what they said was reported to the task force and directly through Commissioner Rodney Harrison. Rodney Harrison himself, to check the credibility of one of those witnesses, attended a long meeting with one of them and with me in New York City, where I rented a place for us to do this before these were released. The other witness was interviewed by 2 detectives from the task force with me after I had already, by the way, had already cleared both of these women through my method of questioning, where I had spent for each one of them approximately 9 hours in different units testing them and checking their credibility. So this was all turned over, and it was a joint decision that the police commissioner wanted to hold the press conference with me because I've been involved in these cases since 2011 as the lawyer for the family of Shannon Gilbert, and then later on also Jessica Taylor. So everything was done according to Hoyle. The only thing that wasn't done is that we didn't hold the press conference at police headquarters. But Rodney Harrison is a member of the task force. So I don't see anything wrong with what happened, and I see everything right with it, because for quite a few years, the police refused to cooperate with me at all. They refused to.
I want to make a comment about this comment. Colleen says, I don't believe John Ray. His story doesn't add up. It's not his story. He is deposing people who are feeling comfortable enough to come forward. And he's just said he did it with the Suffolk County Police Commissioner and 2 detectives from the Homicide Task Force. So, Colleen, you got it wrong. It's not John Ray's story. It's the witnesses that are feeling comfortable enough to come forward to him and haven't come forward to the task force. So I just want to be clear about that.
Accept any evidence that I had. They were extremely hostile, and they shut down the investigations at the same time they were hostile to me. But
I want to have you back, John, because I had so much breaking news with Beth Holloway at the top of the show.
So she cuts him off here, and this is just so ridiculous. I'm going to put it back. She cuts John off. He was just getting started, and that would have been a great interview. But she goes on to tell him that I have other breaking news that I have to cut away. But Ed, did you find it interesting that he said that he rented a space in New York City? The Suffolk County Police Commissioner drove all the way into the city to help him or sit in on this interview. Deposition. He deposed the cab driver with the Suffolk County Police Commissioner. He said he spoke to her for 9 hours.
Yeah. I mean, I don't find it. I don't find it unbelievable. I mean, he doesn't have a law office in Manhattan, and he was trying to accommodate the witness that he's looking to depose rather. And so he rented a place. It happens all the time. I've rented a place several times in Manhattan to have business meetings. It's done all the time. And the fact that the Suffolk County Police Commissioner went with him is, he has to go and look at everything. You can't leave any stone unturned. Okay, so this lawyer, yeah, he's a bit eccentric. So what? He's got this information that he's been trying to give to these investigators in Suffolk County, potentially related to this. You can't just leave that and just ignore it. You can't do that. I'll go as this far. It's criminal malpractice to not take the information, regardless of the source, and then run it down to ground. If it turns out your investigation finds it's not true, done. If it is true and you ignored it, what's worse?
Yeah. And that's what I like about the police commissioner. You don't see this with many police commissioners, where they're actually getting their hands dirty and working in the field. And how many police commissioners have conducted interviews and did and deposed people with attorneys representing families? And Ray Tierney said that it's a conflict of interest. I mean, I don't know the law and the legality of it, but he put that on paper. He put that on paper. I want to follow this up with Dan.
What's the conflict of interest that an
attorney,
a private attorney, is representing family of missing people that were murdered, and he's deposing witnesses that are coming to him?
I'll show it right after this. Again, trigger warning. Bob Macedonio, he tries to rip apart John Ray here and his credibility. And you could see Dan Abrams actually was a little taken back by his statements. He did it twice or maybe more. So let's take a look at this and we'll be right back to you guys.
Stunning new potential evidence tonight in the case of suspected Gilgo's Beach serial killer Rex Heuermann. It turns out his estranged wife may have known about his alleged double life, even supposedly accusing one of the sex workers who came to their home of stealing her clothing iron from their home. John Ray, attorney representing victims in this case, spoke today alongside Suffolk County Police Commissioner Rodney Harrison about what a witness told him about the wife, Asa Ellerup.
He was a serial user of sex workers. He would sometimes have them come 2 at a time to his house, and his wife was home upstairs, and in one instance got very angry at one of the sex workers because the wife believed that the worker had stolen an iron from, for ironing clothes, and had had it in the car with the driver.
Bizarre as it sounds, the sex worker allegedly accused of stealing the wife's iron, and that's what she was upset about. The estranged wife, whose attorney will join us in a moment, has not been named as a suspect, but her hair was found on duct tape on one victim and on the head of another, according to court records. The police commissioner did answer questions too. We should point out he was not wearing his police uniform, as he hasn't past.
Which is, we just talked
Nonsense.
about that in the opening. Complete nonsense. Police commissioner does not have a uniform. Just, again, Dan Abrams not doing his homework.
Conferences about the case.
We have the information. We're working it, and we'll see where it leads us down the road.
Now, the story gets even more bizarre. About an hour after that press conference, the DA's office released a scathing statement about it, saying, quote, without providing any advance notice to the prosecutors pursuing this case in court or the Gilgo Beach Homicide Task Force members investigating these murders day in and day out, we watched today's press conference not knowing what was going to be reported. We will continue to investigate this case through the grand jury process and not through press conferences. The victim's family's attorney also revealed evidence that he says connects Heuermann to 2 more women who were found dead on Long Island, Shannon Gilbert and Karen Brigada. Brigada may have allegedly been in Heuermann's house with his wife.
In the house was the wife of Rex Heuermann and Rex Heuermann and the other girl. The other girl who we believe to be Karen Brigada.
Heuermann has been charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder, 3 counts of second-degree murder, and the deaths of Melissa Barthelme, Megan Waterman, Amberlynn Costello, after DNA evidence tied him to the killings. He's also the prime suspect in another case. Now, joining me now is Robert Macedonio, attorney representing...
Macedonio, how are you, Dan?
Macedonio, I apologize. I actually practiced it before I started, too. Who joins us now. I appreciate it. All right, you've got a lot to respond to here. Let me just let you respond to what we just heard.
Dan, I think the DA's statement says it all. It's hard to take anyone serious wearing a purple hat at a press conference. Johnny Ray has tried to keep himself relevant in this case since the arrest of Rex Heuermann. It's been stated several times, not only by the police commissioner who stood by him, by the DA's office, that Shannon Gilbert, who's Johnny's client, is not related to any of the other Gilgo victims. So what he's desperately trying to do is link a civil defendant to his clients, so he has somebody to sue to recoup the tens of thousands of dollars he has spent chasing his tail the past 12 years that he's been involved in this case.
So is it not true?
Completely outlandish claims. I categorically deny him on behalf of Officer Ellerup. It's just ridiculous.
So again, yeah, just to follow up on that, not true that she knew about the sex workers.
It's not true. Look, taking an iron. You're going to fight with someone taking an iron. You go back, the allegations go back several years ago. The children are 34 and 26 now. So they were what? Teens, if not younger. The house is very small. Everybody's seen the house. So the allegation is small children are upstairs in the house while Rex has sex workers downstairs in the house. It makes no logical sense. It's a nice middle-class neighborhood. The houses are all very close together. Any of this would have been witnessed by any of the neighbors. It makes no relevant sense. Like I said, you go back to the purple hat. He looks like he's more trying out for a part in the Willy Wonka movie than he is representing any victims.
What about the hair allegedly, her hair allegedly on the duct tape of one of the victims?
Well, you have the hair, but hair is of likeness. Until we get actually DNA reports, which none of us have seen, you could have a hair of likeness. The DNA comes from the root of a hair. I don't think any of that's been actually laid out in court.
Ed?
Pause it. Okay. First of all, the personal attacks and the odd is ridiculous. I mean, you stay above the fray. And remember what he said, folks, because if they interview this police detective that was, I believe they did interview him already and the deposition, and they confirm with these two depositions that they were at Rex's house and she was there, he's going to have egg all over his face. Okay. And secondly, he starts talking about DNA, and it's apparent that he doesn't know anything about DNA from here. Okay. In fact, I couldn't even make out what he was saying in that one part. So Ron, if you can run it again, but you can get full cellular DNA from the root. You can get mitochondrial from the shaft, but you can also get from the hair itself without the root using SNP DNA. You can get both the mother and the father. Okay. Not just mitochondrial. So I don't know what he's talking about.
We're going to play it again, Ed.
See, you could have a hair of likeness. The DNA comes from the root of a hair. I don't think, but hair is of likeness. Until we get actually DNA reports.
Hair is a likeness? Is that what he's saying? Hair is a likeness?
Hair is of likeness?
Of likeness?
Yeah, I mean, I've got two earbuds.
What does that mean?
But actually DNA reports, which none of us have seen, you could have a hair of likeness. The DNA comes from the root of a hair. I don't think any of that's been actually laid out in court. It's a hair of her likeness. So
a hair of her likeness. But that's not even forensic terminology, and he's a criminal attorney. He's a criminal attorney?
Yeah, I think he's a criminal defense attorney, but he's representing Asa Ellerup, not on the criminal side, because she's not charging anything criminally. But this guy
genetically match that hair back to her. I don't know what he's talking about.
Yeah, I got something to say for this guy.
Pardon my French, but you're an asshole.
Thank you, Cameron.
Cameron, thank you. Let's let the rest of this play.
See the evidence comes out in court and really let this case be tried in the courtroom and not by Johnny Ray at the press conferences. In addition to the police commissioner, come the first of the year, is no longer going to be the police commissioner. We have a new county executive that's going to be elected, and they're going to appoint their own police commissioner. So again, Rodney Harrison not wearing his police uniform,
which is again. The guy's an idiot. I mean, come on, guy.
Do it again. Run it again. I need to hear Cameron again.
Pardon my French, but you're an asshole. Pardon my French.
Oh my God. Ed, could you please call the police?
All right, pull over, step away from the microphone. You don't know what you're talking about.
Go back to Ray Tierney. So again, Rodney Harrison not wearing his police uniform, not in coordination with the DA's office who's run this task force. And to go back to Ray Tierney is probably the most qualified and non-political district attorney we've had in Suffolk County. So I trust his judgment. I trust the task force.
it's a political position. You have to be elected to it. So how is he not political? This guy, this is the worst interview I've ever heard from this guy.
He's just angry,
making a complete fool of himself.
We will do a thorough investigation, and to have John Ray bring out some victim that says they took an iron out of the house, had a fight with House Heller, it's ludicrous.
Bob Macedonio.
Holy shiitake mushrooms, Ed. Woof.
You know, and he's making fun of John. I mean, all right. So, you know, you say what you want about John's style. That's his style, whatever. But it'd be, again, criminal law enforcement malpractice not to get that information from him and validate it.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it true? Is it not true? All right. Once you've determined one way or the other, then, you know, it's either going to be probative to the investigation and now links Rex to possibly 2 additional murders, or it's going to be proven to be bogus. And
right.
In any event, at that point, when the information has been determined from investigating the claims and the depositions, the affidavits that were filed, then we give a press conference again. And if John is right, people are going to have egg all over their face. If this attorney is correct, then he can say, okay, John's a joke. But until we investigate it, and we have to investigate, there's no way we shouldn't investigate. And there's no way they should have been keep pushing him off, you know, when he's trying to come to you with this information.
For 13 years, he's been pushed to the side. They treated him like he was, you know, emotionally unstable, emotionally disturbed, or whatever the case may be. But I have 2 full pages of notes from Rodney Harrison's interview yesterday, and he did nothing but praise the work that John Ray has done and continues to do. And he also said, we are going to make sure we vet and verify this information. And I'm quoting him here. He said, I have not deemed this information as fully credible yet, but that doesn't mean it isn't. So very transparent. Let's look at the district attorney's. Can everybody see this?
You're going to have to make it larger. Okay.
Hold on a second. Let me just step back out of it. 1, 2. Okay, that's going to do it. That's just, it won't let me make it any bigger. I'll read it. So, Suffolk County District Attorney Ray Tierney's statement regarding the Gilgo Beach investigation and prosecution. Without providing any advance notice to the prosecutors pursuant to the case in court, or the Gilgo Beach Homicide Task Force members investigating these murders day in and day out, we watched today the press conference not knowing what was going to be reported. We will continue to investigate this case through the grand jury process. Don't forget, there's a secret grand jury that's convened. So that's what he's referring to here, through the grand jury process and not through press conferences. No private attorneys are or have ever been members or agents of the task force. That's obvious.
Well, he never claimed to be. He's been ignored by the task force.
Right. But these are digs at the police commissioner here. Mm-hmm. Any citizen who believes that they have relevant evidence regarding the Gilgo Beach investigation should report it to the investigative agencies that comprise the task force. Comprise the task force. This is so small. Those agencies are the Suffolk County District Attorney's Office, Suffolk County Police Department's Homicide Bureau, Suffolk County Sheriff's Office, the New York State Police, and the FBI. Any attorneys representing victims, here's the statement, or their families, by definition, have a conflict of interest and should not be part of the investigation. So he's saying that's directed straight at John Ray. Accordingly, private attorneys are not part of any Accordingly, private attorneys are not part of the task force, and potential witnesses should not be reaching out to private attorneys with any interest in the outcome of this case. So basically in this thing, Ed, here, and this is what the news didn't report on, is he was discouraging people from talking to John Ray.
Yeah. The task force has its own office. The task force has its own telephone number. But did he put that in that report? No, he put individual agencies,
Your audio
including his.
out, Ed.
Including his.
Can
Okay.
you put the mic closer to you, because your audio is cutting out?
Oh, okay. Any better?
I guess so. Yeah.
Hold on.
It was just cutting out.
All right.
That's better.
So
Right.
yeah, so he didn't put the task force telephone number. He didn't put the task force's address and location. He put individual agencies that are a part of the task force, including his office. Okay. Yeah. If he's saying that the grand jury is investigating this, well, then get those witnesses that were deposed by Johnny and bring them into the grand jury. Present them to the grand jury and let them testify to what it is they know. And if they're perjuring themselves, if they're lying and committing perjury, well, that should be able to be proved, and then you can prosecute them for lying.
And do you feel that these depositions that they took, he said he has up to 4. We only heard about 2. Do you think that somebody like Tim is going to do polygraph? Right? And God we trust. All others we polygraph. Should these people be polygraphed? These 2 that came forward?
As we all know, it's not accepted in courts, but to help alleviate or help determine in the investigator's mind if these people are being credible, you can see if they volunteered to do it. Right. I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah,
but that shouldn't be the only. Only means to validate what it is they're saying.
Right. I agree. But there was people on DutyRon.com and also in the comment section who were saying, these people were probably polygraphed. We didn't hear John Ray or police commissioner make any confirmation of whether they were polygraphed or not.
I know John Ray said that he
used his
vetted them, yeah, but I don't know what that means. And right. I asked myself, did he poly them?
Yeah. Let's acknowledge some of the super chats and some of the folks who came in. Yarnbar, a member for 15 months. She says, "I'm proud to be a part of the DutyRon YouTube family. We're proud to have you. Hope you're still here in the chat." Galen gifted 10 memberships. That is very generous, and thank you. Galen is also a $100 a month Patreon supporter. So, Galen, thank you for supporting us not only here through gifted memberships and being a member, but also through Patreon support.
So who got her memberships?
I didn't see it because we were deep in conversation, but congratulations to the 10 folks who became members courtesy of Galen. So thank you for that. And then Lauren sends in a $2 super chat. Vendever, she says, "It seems like history repeating itself." She's referring to that statement that the district attorney made, telling people. Again, I said it earlier. It was counterproductive. It actually hurts everything that Rodney Harrison is trying to build, that community trust. The people who work in these trades and in this business, they don't like to talk to the police. They're scared of that they're going to get in trouble. They're scared.
Yeah. And if they there was in the affidavit that I saw that they tried to speak to the police and they were ignored.
They called the cab driver, I believe, called the task force hotline twice. Team Brittany, thank you for those gifted 5 memberships. John Ray and Police Commissioner Harrison at the press conference, he was asked, how come this cab driver woman didn't come forward with the information? This was pertaining to Shannon Gilbert at the motel, the Sayville Motor Inn or motel. And they said she called twice, John Ray said, and nobody ever called her back. That's
And again, this information needs to be vetted. Okay, there should be records of the phone call, if it was a cell phone or whatever the case may be, that they should get their hands on those records to see if, in fact, that these phone calls were made. We do know that 911 calls were made in that incident, and that the Suffolk County Patrol responded, okay, and spoke to her, the cab driver, the patrol officer from his cruiser spoke to her.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's be a record of the dispatch, there'd be a record of the officer assigned, and there should be a disposition from the officer.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And that's all information. That's all data that's not going to go anywhere. It's all archived. It's all kept.
Right.
Because
And it should be information from the hotel. Okay. Because
Absolutely.
you just don't go into a hotel and not give up ID and not give forms of a payment and so forth. And
Right.
I know it's too late now for the any video surveillance that might have occurred at the time of the incident, but you still try to run down the people that were working in the hotel at the time that the individuals checked into that particular room, and so forth.
all of it's going to be available. Let's turn to the chat because we're getting close to that 1 hour mark, and we'll wrap it up after that. Mockingjay, thank you for being here. Christine, thank you. Cheryl, good to see Team Brittany in the chat. Miss Donna Marie, who's recovering from surgery. She's on the mend right now, and we're sending you again all of our love and support as always. Our good friend Florida Pete, I'll be down in Florida next month. I'm going to visit my son who recently moved down there. So Janine and I will be down in Florida hanging out. Legal Minded Friends, Karen in the UK. What is it, like 5 a.m., 4 a.m. in the UK right now? Ed, I know you
Across the pond.
Across the pond. So yeah, I want to thank everyone for actually being here and hanging out with us. It's been a long time since we've been live, and I know in the true crime genre, lots of people go live daily, sometimes twice a day. We just got Ed and I have just too much going on. We can't do that. So we're gonna be back at it tomorrow night. Hospice nurse Julie is gonna come and have an hour-long conversation with us about palliative care and hospice. That's going to be an unbelievable live stream tomorrow night at 9 p.m. So make sure you mark your calendars. I'll schedule a live for it tomorrow. I wanted to go over some of the highlights. I have 2 pages. It's 13 bullet points. I won't go over them all, but this was the interview that was conducted by retired Sergeant Joe Jackalone. I'm probably saying his last name wrong. He's probably going to correct me. So sorry about that, Joe. But he did a great interview, and he's going to interview Johnny Ray. He's already interviewed John Ray one other time. He's going to interview him, I think, again Friday night. It's coming up in the next day or two. But the interview he did yesterday with Suffolk County Police Commissioner Rodney Harrison, he acknowledged that all the hard work right up front off the bat of his team. He referred to him as his team, and he said New York State Police, Suffolk County Sheriffs, the Nassau County Police, the FBI, and he also, Ed, brought up the medical examiner's office. And they get skipped over when you hear people talking about this quite a bit. And I went back and watched some of the press conferences when Rex Heuermann was initially arrested, and nobody ever mentioned the medical examiner's office.
Well, good for him.
So he pointed out the medical examiner's office, and he said they were instrumental in obtaining DNA and the forensic science that they're using along with Ortham Labs. He didn't mention Ortham, but we know that they're part of this in Texas.
Yeah, and they just did another hit on a 35-year-old case.
Yeah. They're doing unbelievable work. He also mentioned that there will be an announcement within the next few weeks on the 4th piece, which is Maureen Brainerd Barnes. So we've been hearing this since Rex Heuermann was taken into custody, that shortly the 4th charge would be levied. And he was asked about that off the bat, right in the beginning of the interview. And he said, next couple of weeks, we should be hearing information, an announcement from the Suffolk County District Attorney's Office on the charging of the Rex Heuermann with Maureen Brainerd Barnes murder. He acknowledged Detective Lieutenant Kevin Byers. He said he knows the case like the back of his hand. And he also mentioned about Ed and I, we talked about this before we went live, that box in Manhattan and the box in Massapequa Park, where the phone was pinging. And that was NYPD detectives. And he mentioned that thanks to the work of NYPD detectives early on. I think it was in 2020 when Suffolk County Police Commissioner was the retired FBI agent. Her name is slipping me. I got it written down on one of my notes here, but Hart, Geraldine Hart. Geraldine Hart was the Suffolk County Police Commissioner. She came in there. She was also a ball of fire, and she wanted to shake the tree. So I feel like the combination 1-2 punch of Geraldine Hart and Rodney Harrison helped to get that box identified through the phone calls that he was taunting one of the victim's sisters. He mentioned women in policing, which was unbelievable in that interview. He said women often get overlooked for the good work that they do in investigations. And the New York State Police, the New York State trooper who identified through the lawman search, the avalanche, which tied this whole thing and got this whole thing going with identifying Rex Heuermann. And of course, we know the misstep early on when this was reported about the avalanche by the victim's boyfriend slash pimp, whatever you want to call him. Again, that was there and in their face, and they somehow ignored it or just didn't act on it. But he acknowledged women in policing, and he said they don't often get recognized, and I wanted to acknowledge her on the great work that she did. He praised his partner, Ray Tierney. He said the FBI helped with the surveillance of Rex Heuermann prior to the arrest, and the Google searches and the credit card searches were the district attorney's squad. He credited them with those searches to find his crazy Google searches and all of his. You read them off on one of the live streams, Ed, right? Mm-hmm. So that was the Suffolk County District Attorney's Office. The PC also, on top of that, said we still leave our egos at the door when it came to his weekly meetings. Sometimes he didn't see eye to eye with Ray Tierney and some of the other folks in the task force. He said, but we all left our egos at the door. And if we didn't agree on things, we moved forward in the case. So he had weekly meetings, and he confirmed that they were not on the same page sometimes, not all the time. He also talked about that NYPD detective that was identified through John Ray's witnesses. And he said, we have identified him and interviewed him. So that came out. And he said, at this point right now, I can't say it is credible as of yet. I have it in quotes. It's not credible as of yet. That means that they're still trying to vet this thing. He mentions Tierney stating people should go to the police first. And he agreed in this interview yesterday, Police Commissioner Harrison. He said, I agree with that. But many cases, and I have this in parentheses, get solved by people going to clergy and community members that they feel safe with. So he acknowledged that it's a double-edged sword. You know, you could have it both ways. He said he released the 911 audio of Shannon Gilbert and the video of Megan Waterman coming out of the Holiday Inn in Suffolk County to be transparent and to gain the trust of the people who are following this case and Suffolk County residents. He said it's building, and I put it in quotes, strong trust in the community, strong trust. I mean, I was so impressed with this interview. This is the second page, and I'm almost done here. He met with John Ray, and this is Police Commissioner Rodney Harrison's statement. I met with John Ray as soon as I became the police commissioner. It was one of the first things I did besides going straight out to Ocean Parkway to the crime scene. January of 2022, I met with John Ray and began our relationship. That's when our relationship began. He said, I'm not ruling out anything as of right now. No one and nothing is ruled down. So law enforcement has a job to do to collect the evidence and present the case to the district attorney. This is from Rodney Harrison. Law enforcement has a job to do to collect evidence and present the case to the district attorney. I'm the quarterback and Ray Tierney is my receiver. This is his exact words. He's going to also send his detectives, and that's why he added 2 extra detectives on, back to the original place where Karen Brigada was allegedly picked up from, and interview anyone if that club is still in existence. And interview management or anyone, neighbors from the Massapequa Park community, if they saw Karen Brigada in the street back on those at that time. And it's going to be a tough thing for them to do. John Ray deposed, he was asked, John Ray deposed Joe Brewer, right? The deposition, but he wouldn't talk about that. He sidestepped that and said, I can't get into that. So that was interesting, Ed, because when he was questioned by Joe Giacalone about the deposition that was taken of Brewer, that's the last person, that's the John who called Shannon Gilbert to his house. He said, I can't talk about it. That says a lot right there.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, when it came to my future as a police commissioner, and this is in parentheses, I'm still in discussion with my family. As long as the DA and the sheriff are in place, it should be okay. In other words, you're saying if I'm not there and the district attorney is still in place and the sheriff, Suffolk County Sheriff, Mr. Toulon, he said things should be okay. So that's how it wrapped up. And those are my 14 bullet points on that interview. I want to play Ed. And Ed, do you have anything to add to this? What I was just saying?
No, it's spot on. And I like his openness and his truthfulness. I just don't like this petty stuff between him and the DA.
Yeah.
It's mostly from the DA side. I don't see it coming from him.
Yeah. It just surprised me because I felt like, and this is like the 5th time I'm saying it, I feel like it cancels out all the good work. It's almost the same concept as when we have these bad cops that are going out there and assaulting people and using excessive force. It leaves it to the good cops to have to now run around and try to compensate for that, and we get the bad rap. For me, I felt like John Ray and Commissioner Harrison were doing was creating that good relationship where people felt comfortable. And this statement that he put out, I felt erased the whole thing. I want to play, this is from January.
Well, just before you move on, I mean, look who we're talking about. We're talking about people in the sex trade industry.
Yeah.
And they don't feel comfortable coming forward to law enforcement, especially if they're still in the business.
Right.
Okay.
They're afraid of getting in trouble.
Right.
So, and that's the crazy part, Ed, is that like I thought Tierney was a smarter guy than that, and that he would say, you know what, let me just talk to Rodney Harrison personally and let him know how I feel about it, and let's do this behind the scenes and not put it out on the public stage. It just sends the wrong message to the people who are ready, that were on the fence about coming forward with more information, and now they're like. Now all of a sudden they're like,
oh, hell no.
Because it seems very standoffish. That statement that he made at the end, especially, is like, nobody should be talking to anybody but us. It just was just ridiculous. All right. So this is Suffolk County Police Commissioner Rodney Harrison. When he first took office, this is January, I think, 18th of 2022.
Very humble. To be a pioneer, to be the first Black.
Again, Rex Heuermann not in custody. Everything was still the way it was prior to us having him in custody. So he just took office.
Humble, to be a pioneer, to be the first Black police commissioner of this county.
Rodney Harrison traveled more than 60 miles east from the NYPD's 1PP to police headquarters in Suffolk. His chief of staff is retired NYPD Lieutenant Gracia Herdsman.
Commissioner Harrison, Class 182.
We followed Harrison as he met some of Suffolk County's newest police recruits at the academy in Brentwood.
Doing God's work, helping people.
Harrison now on a mission in a department that's 85% white.
Recruitment and diversity in this organization needs to get better. The number actually is 76 Black police officers in a department that has 2,500.
Harrison spent 30 years in the NYPD, the first man to go from cadet to chief of department.
I, Rodney Harrison, do solemnly swear.
Suffolk County Executive Steve Ballone initially swore him in December 27th.
Is it a little bit different from New York City? Absolutely. But you'll also see a lot of the same issues.
Gang violence, one of them, with MS-13 in Brentwood, and a convicted Bloods leader from Bellport. Harrison told us he worked with the county's brand new DA, Ray Tierney, in the past, prosecuting Brooklyn gangs.
But this is going to be a great partnership going forward.
And in a county long known for the Amityville horror, Harrison is inheriting one of the biggest unsolved crimes in the country. The case that started at Gilgo Beach, the Long Island serial killer.
Just in case you guys didn't know who that was with him, that's the homicide detective commander, Kevin Byron. That's who he talks about all the time. And he said in his interview yesterday that Kevin knows this case like the back of his hand. So that was him right out there on Ocean Parkway, where Joey Brooklyn and I got eaten alive. They're walking it, and they're right out there. And Ed, you were on there making fun of us as we were getting swarmed by killer mosquitoes.
And the reporter that's here is Mary Murphy from Channel 11 in New York.
Fantastic. She does an unbelievable job of covering this case.
Started at Gilgo Beach, the Long Island serial killer known as Lisk.
I'm feeling confident that we're getting closer to making an arrest.
Harrison said the persistent speculation about ex-police chief James Burke, who did prison time for assaulting a burglary suspect, may have been a disservice to a complex investigation.
I will say this, there's been a lot of turns in different directions.
The public's still waiting to hear the 911 tapes from a petrified Shannon Gilbert, an escort who went missing in 2010 in Oak Beach, found dead a year later. You've listened to the tapes.
I have.
Are they startling?
They are alarming.
Commissioner Harrison told us one of his biggest jobs will be overseeing a police reform task force, mandating all officers to wear body cameras. He's brought in another NYPD veteran, Anthony Carter, as deputy commissioner. At the present time, do any Suffolk County police officers wear the body cameras?
There are a few.
The commissioner asked the recruits.
And I want to say, too, the deputy commissioner, I looked this up in Suffolk County, is also a civilian job. He appointed him, along with his chief of staff, the driver, who's a retired NYPD lieutenant. Those are civilian jobs. So if Rodney Harrison is no longer the police commissioner come January 1, they will probably be out of jobs unless the new police commissioner comes in and says, oh, we'll take you on, which never happens. So
why they're joining the Suffolk PD.
I wanted to help people.
Their new boss, a man who's seen it all in New York City, the son of a bus driver and a nurse.
My father was the one who pushed me into law enforcement, so I'm very, very proud. My wife's a retired lieutenant. My two daughters are now police officers. It's all about being blue and protecting people and helping people.
I'm Mary Murphy, Pix 11 News.
I like this guy a lot. It's all about being blue and protecting people. This guy walks the walk and talks the talk, Ed. And I never had a chance to meet him, but, everything that I see here, he's a class act, total gentleman, and he wants to seek justice for these victims and their families. So you can't beat it. Ed, we're going to wrap it up. We're close to that. We're at that 1 hour mark. Tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern, we're going to have hospice nurse Julie. She's got over 1.5 million TikTok followers. She's got 300 and some odd thousand YouTube subscribers. She's going to come on. It's going to be a little bit off the beaten path, but I think that it's going to be very educational. I'm going to talk about the difference between hospice, the program, and palliative care and how they intertwine. And then we'll ask her every or any question that you guys want us to. So go over to DutyRon.com, ask, put in the subject matter, hospice nurse Julie, or questions for tomorrow night's show, and I'd love to ask those questions. Ed, any closing thoughts on what we could be looking at? How could this affect this Gilgo Beach task force without a go-getter like Rodney Harrison at the helm?
It couldn't. I mean, he is instrumental in getting us to where we are today. We wouldn't have known any of this, wouldn't have had the indictments, and so forth, without his leadership. Other people, well, but I got to say, other people started the foundation, and then he came in and built upon what was started by the previous commissioner from the FBI, and he ran with the ball, and he didn't let it go.
He really did a great job with continuing the team approach. Like, he never is like me. He's talking about the team approach, and corrections is continually interviewing people inside the Suffolk County Jail and in custody. I'm sure Nassau County is doing the same thing. He also mentioned in that interview yesterday that the female sergeant who's embedded in Suffolk County Jail is there to interview every new intake that comes into Suffolk County Jail when it comes to charges of prostitution, and try to get and extract information out of them from within. So that's still ongoing, and it's a great team effort. Ed, you see anything in the chat that you want to get to?
Yeah, Lieutenant Pete wrote a comment. I hope this is true, boss. I really do hope this is true.
I hope, and is that the hopeful for Suffolk County, or is he already elected? I didn't see any coverage about Suffolk County executive. Is Ed Romaine slated to be a shoo-in, or is this already a done deal?
Well, the way they made it seem is that the election occurred already. Don't they have a winner?
I don't know.
Because he's supposed to be taking office in January.
Yeah, unless they do a quick election in November. I don't know, Ed. I don't know.
I don't follow Suffolk County politics.
Well, that's why Pete lives there. So we thought maybe I could be wrong. People are saying, yeah, I thought so too. But if that's the case, and he's going to keep him on, Suffolk County Police Commissioner Rodney Harrison said, I got to check in with my family. So he could decline it. No, so so there it is. Election day is in November.
Okay.
Yeah. So all right.
The current person holding the office has term limited out. Is that correct, Pete?
Yeah. No, that's a fact. I know that for sure. Because that's why he's leaving. And you know what? I have feelings about Steve Ballone. I have not good feelings about him, because he was the one who elevated James Burke to chief. And how do you elevate someone who was accused, and your internal affairs corroborated that he had sex on duty in his police car in uniform with a prostitute, and that same prostitute took his vehicle, a marked Suffolk County police vehicle, by herself, and drove it home with his gun in it, and took his gun inside his house? How do you elevate him to chief? That I want to know. And I feel like Ballone is getting to walk out the door without having to answer that question. And it's up. Ed, what are you laughing about?
My buddy Blaine. Yeah.
Well, we're going to have to, should I block him? Should I be blocking him?
What are you thinking about? He's great.
I'm only kidding. Well, he's derailing you.
He's making me laugh.
He's like, love you, Ed. Great job. By the way, I put in some chapstick in. So I'm all good. All right. Excellent.
Good to hear. Good to hear. Did Twyla give you the recipe?
Yeah, that's who we were looking for. Keep it moist and keep it hydrated. All right. All right, guys and girls, on behalf of Ed Wallace and Crime Time with DutyRon, we're wishing everybody a good evening. And I saw in the chat there was something about shooting in Maine. Or
Maine,
something.
yeah, I heard there's a mass shooting up there. We're going to look into it.
Prayers for the victims there. Prayers for the victims of the war in Israel. Hamas is still going at it, and the innocents in the Gaza Strip. We're praying for everybody on both sides, as always. So a lot of love and respect from Ed Wallace and I. Ed, what do you got to say? We're about to wrap it up.
Yeah, folks, you know the deal. Stay safe, stay prepared, and watch your six.
And again, we send strength, prayers, and positive vibes to all of the horror that's going on across the country, across the world. On behalf of, again, Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace, wish you all a good night. Thank you to the replay viewers. Hey, Ed, we keep getting people buying us cups of coffee. We should be drinking coffee like 6-7 cups a day. People are sending us cups of coffee left and right. So thank you to everyone who's
Thank you.
supporting us. We'll see you tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Ed, get some rest because we got another
I'll try.
show. All right. Good night, guys.
Good night.